So I want to start with polling.
Yeah.
The most recent Emerson poll shows you up 9 percentage points, I believe, on Jasmine Crockett. I'm curious, are you seeing similar momentum in your own polling, and what takeaways do you take from that poll?
We are. This campaign has all the momentum in this race. There's so much energy and excitement around our people-powered movement here in Texas. We have had thousands of people showing up at our rallies and at our town halls. We were in Corpus Christi 2 nights ago, had 1,000 people show up at a town hall. We've had 13,000 people sign up to volunteer for the campaign, and we have had 215,000 people donate $5, $10, $15 at a time to our campaign. And we don't take any corporate PAC money, so this is a people-powered movement. And I think you're just seeing the kind of energy around our campaign that we're going to need if we're going to win this race in November.
Your opponent recently did an interview with CBS Dallas, I think, up in North Texas, and she was asked about this polling, and she called it deeply flawed, that's not what she's seeing. I'm curious your reaction to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it across multiple polls, both internal polls and public polling. But again, I'm going to keep campaigning like I'm the underdog. I'm going to keep going everywhere, talking to everyone, and building a people-powered movement that can take on this broken, corrupt political system in Washington. We need a candidate, we need a campaign that doesn't take corporate PAC money, that is funded by people, so that we can take power away from the billionaires who run this political system and bring that power back into our communities.
You're well aware that one of the biggest issues driving Democratic energy right now are the unfortunate scenes we're seeing up in Minneapolis when it comes to ICE and the killing of Alex Preddy. If you were in the Senate, what would you be doing or calling for in terms of holding ICE accountable?
Well, ICE shot a mom in the face. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy, Liam Ramos, and brought him all the way here to Texas. ICE executed Alex Preddy in the street in broad daylight, shooting him in the back. So this agency is out of control. We have to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem. We've got to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. I would not vote to give this agency any more money. I would take that money that they've put into this agency and put it back into our healthcare where it belongs.
Following up on that, very timely in the news, Democrats in the Senate are weighing a partial government shutdown and not wanting to fund ICE or the Department of Homeland Security because of what we're seeing. They're demanding some pretty significant changes to the agency before they would vote to fund the agency. If you were in the Senate, where do you think you would be on this in terms of would you go that far in terms of a partial government shutdown?
Absolutely. I would demand accountability from this agency. We should have accountability when it comes to federal agents killing American citizens and hurting our undocumented neighbors in the process. We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be deporting gang members, not small business owners. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies. So this rogue agency is out of control. We don't need a secret police force in this country. And many of these officers do not have law enforcement training. You know, you think about our brave police officers here in Houston. They go through years of training to do their jobs well and responsibly and keep us all safe. That is not the case with these ICE agents. Some of them are brand new and they clearly don't have the training to keep citizens safe. In fact, they're endangering the lives of citizens every day.
You've seen the polling, and polling suggests Americans, including a majority of Texans, do believe in strong immigration policies, strong border security. That includes deporting criminals in the community with violent criminal histories. So how do you reconcile that, and what is your approach to bringing consensus among those voters and earning them on your side?
Well, my family is from the border. My mom grew up in Laredo, right there on our Texas-Mexico border. I think we as Texans understand this issue better than most people around the country because we live with the benefits and the challenges of immigration every day. So I've said that our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door. We can both welcome immigrants who want to live the American dream, who want to make our communities richer and stronger in the process, and we can keep out people who mean to do us harm. And if any immigrant commits a violent crime, they should be deported immediately. But our small business owners, our moms and dads, our undocumented neighbors who have been here for years, for decades, they deserve a pathway to citizenship so they can come out of the shadows and become full contributing members of our community. I think that's the kind of comprehensive immigration reform that most Texans are looking for.
Republicans on the other side, Ken Paxton, John Cornyn, immediately after the debate, I'm sure you saw, they accused both you and your opponent of wanting to abolish ICE. That'll be a tactic they'll use with whoever wins this Democratic primary. So I want to be clear so Texas voters know where you stand. Would you support abolishing ICE?
Yeah, I think we got to stop making policy based on slogans. What I've said is that we've got to tear down this secret police force and replace it with an agency that is actually going to focus on public safety. I don't think anyone disagrees that we need immigration and customs enforcement, but that's not what this agency is doing. This agency is terrorizing our neighbors on a daily basis, not only in Minnesota, but right here in Texas, and that has to end. So we need to get back to an agency that's actually going to focus on immigration and customs enforcement, that's actually going to make us more safe, not less safe.
Back in 2024, I think it's fair to say we saw Democrats were pretty vulnerable on the issue of immigration. You could argue it's one of the main reasons President Trump was able to win re-election back then. What do you think Democrats got wrong in their approach to immigration back in 2024, and how will your approach be different in terms of winning those voters that you need to flip a seat that's been red for so long?
Well, I think national Democrats failed us on our southern border. They allowed for chaos to reign in our border communities, and that's unacceptable. Again, I want to welcome immigrants who want to live the American dream, but we need to create an orderly process so we know who's coming into the country. Right now, there's not really a process for folks who want to come here and work and contribute and build a better life. We have to create that process so that we can have an orderly, safe system that allows for immigrants to come here more easily while keeping out people who mean to do us harm. But instead of doing that, national Democrats, including the Biden administration, allowed for chaos to grow on our southern border, and that's what has opened up the door for this kind of extremism that we're seeing from the current administration. Masked men waiting in school pickup lines, lurking in hospital waiting rooms. The American people and Texans broadly do not want this kind of extremism. They were failed by the Biden administration, they're being failed by the Trump administration. We need a new course on this issue, and it's one that my campaign is advocating for.
I'm sure you've read analysis of this past weekend's debate, and if you read a lot of columns and blogs, they say that there was very few actual policy differences between you and Mrs. Crockett. More so a change in your style and your approach to certain issues to getting things done. So what is your message to Texas voters? How are you different than Jasmine Crockett, and why should they trust you to be able to, flip this seat?
Well, I think I bring something unique to this primary race. I bring a history of winning tough races, of flipping a Trump district in a county that was so red it hadn't voted for a Democrat for president since Jimmy Carter. I was able to win that Trump district as a Democrat by bringing people together, by building a big coalition, firing up Democrats, inspiring them to show up, bringing in new voters, particularly young voters who felt disillusioned with politics, and peeling people off, independents, and even some Republicans. I built a big tent, a big coalition to win and flip that district. And that's what we need in a nominee. We need a nominee who knows how to win tough races. And I have deep love and respect for Congresswoman Crockett, but she has never run in a competitive general election before. So we need a nominee who knows how to win races like this, who knows how to flip seats. I have a track record of doing that, and I think that's unique in this primary race.
You are very open about your faith.
Yeah.
What role does your faith play in your life and in your approach to politics that you want Texans to know and understand?
Well, my faith is central in my life. My granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas, and when I was real little, he told me that we follow the two commandments that Jesus gave us: love God and love neighbor. And that second commandment, to love my neighbor as myself, is what motivated my public service. First as a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio, as a public official in the Texas House of Representatives, and now as a candidate for the United States Senate. That said, I am the fiercest defender of the separation of church and state. In the Texas Capitol, I fought against efforts to cram religion down the throats of our neighbors because, again, as a Christ follower, I am called to love all of my neighbors, whether they are Christians, whether they are Jews or Muslims or Sikhs or Buddhists or Hindus or atheists or agnostics. I'm called to love all of my neighbors the way I love myself. And that's why I fight so hard for that separation of church and state.
Two more quick questions for you. We know immigration is a hot button issue because of everything we're seeing in Minneapolis, but at the end of the day, you know, pundits say affordability is going to be the name of the game this election. You're traveling Texas, all over Texas, talking to voters. What do you hear from them? Is affordability still top of mind, and do you believe it will be the defining issue?
I hear about two things. I hear about costs, and I hear about corruption. And those two things are actually very much connected, because we're not going to bring down the cost of groceries. We're not going to bring down the cost of childcare or prescription drugs or housing unless we tackle this corruption crisis. Because right now we don't have a government that works for us. We have a government that works for billionaires and billionaires alone. We need to rebuild a government of, by, and for the people again. We can bring down the cost of groceries by repealing these crazy tariffs. We can bring down the cost of childcare by finally passing universal early childhood education for every kid in this country. We can bring down the cost of prescription drugs by allowing every Texan, every American the opportunity to join Medicare. And we can bring down the cost of housing by banning Wall Street from gobbling up the housing stock in this state and across the nation. So we got to tackle corruption, get big money out of our politics so that we can focus on bringing down costs for working people.
If elected to the Senate, you would be the youngest senator, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
What does that mean to you, and what do you think that would mean to voters? I think there's an appetite out there for more youth in our politics, so that would be history making.
I think people are ready for some new blood in our government. They're ready for fresh ideas, fresh perspectives in our politics, and I am so proud to be running as a millennial, and I think we need more young people stepping up in this country to take on the mantle of leadership. We need a new generation of leaders in the United States, and I'm happy to be a part of that new generation stepping up to lead.
And I want to close with this, where we began, in that Emerson poll. 15% of that poll showed voters are undecided. 15% remain undecided. Those are going to be key to whoever wins this primary in a few weeks. How do you get those 15% to decide your way?
Well, I don't think you should ever believe anything a politician says. I think you should look at what a politician has done. So I invite Democratic primary voters, all voters in this state, to look at my track record in the Texas House of Representatives. I was a former teacher who fought to cap the cost of education in our state, to make sure that more kids could attend well-funded public schools and go on to colleges and universities and post-secondary education, career and technical schools. I fought as a type 1 diabetic to cap the cost of insulin in our state. And as a young person who has struggled to afford my own housing, I have fought to lower the cost of housing for more people in this state. And so that kind of track record of fighting and winning for working people is exactly what I will bring to the United States Senate.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.